I first reviewed Dragon Quest XI 2 years ago, a decent time removed from its Western release. I was enamored with the game, despite its evident faults. And now, here we are, a couple of years and a couple of Dragon Quest XI videos later, this time to discuss Dragon Quest XI-S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. Once again, please consider this review an additive to my previous Dragon Quest XI reviews. Today, I'll be primarily focusing on the Definitive Edition's PlayStation, Xbox, and PC ports, and how it compares to the previously released versions of the game. If you'd like a more in-depth analysis of the non-technical aspects of Dragon Quest XI, check out the cards in the top right-hand corner of the screen. And hey, while you're clicking around, be sure to subscribe and click the bell to get updates whenever I publish new content. Now let's get started. This supplemental review is based on a physical PS4 copy of the game played on the PlayStation 5. If you've never played Definitive Edition on Nintendo Switch, here's a quick recap. Dragon Quest XI-S features various additions and quality of life improvements over the initial version. The most significant addition is the 16-bit game mode. You can play through the entirety of Dragon Quest XI-S in a classic 2D presentation, and it holds up pretty well. It even plays like a traditional 2D RPG. Random encounters, battles only show enemy sprites, animations have been simplified, the entire world's layout has been condensed. Really, the only thing that isn't traditional about 2D mode is that it doesn't utilize 16-bit music. Of course, this isn't a complaint because the music that is present is fantastic. The synthesized score from vanilla Dragon Quest XI is present, but the fully orchestrated score is the real hero. It's so much more robust than the MIDI compositions. Have a listen. The Dragon Quest VIII bonus music is present too, including MIDI and symphonic score renditions respectively. I actually prefer Dragon Quest VIII's more mellow overworld theme to Dragon Quest XI's bombastic marching cadence. All the other Definitive Edition content is here as well. Tickington makes its grand return, whisking players away to the corrupted venues of Dragon Quest games past. This is still as cool as ever, especially for longtime Dragon Quest fans like myself. And of course, the entire slew of quality of life improvements have also made the jump. Adjustable battle speed, Japanese voice acting, skip and autoplay cutscenes, the fun-size forge is accessible at any time, outfits can be set independently of equipment. Just a ton of things have been expedited, which dramatically improves the game's overall accessibility. I have to say, after playing Dragon Quest XI so many times across so many platforms, certain nitpicks have become more noticeable to me, especially with 2D mode. Yes, you can play all of Dragon Quest XI-S in 2D, but I can't recommend an entirely 2D experience due to certain presentation issues. You can't autoplay the 2D cutscenes, which I understand because everyone reads at different speeds. But you also can't skip most of the 2D cutscenes either, which I don't get at all. Also, so much of 2D mode is dependent upon visual cues from 3D mode, and I feel they could have included the necessary context with some inset stills. I've created a little mock-up to explain what I'm talking about.
The fact that you come here proffering the jewel and asking to speak with me personally would suggest that you know something of your true nature. I take it that you also bear the mark? the mark of light. Then there is no doubt. You are he.
Obviously, this isn't anything major, but I think importing 3D modes, quality of life improvements, plus these contextual windows would have immensely increased 2D mode's standalone accessibility. As it stands, I still think 3D mode, or a blend of 2D and 3D, is the most ideal way to play the game. Moving along, let's talk about the specific enhancements in this most recent 11S. 3D mode itself has the most immediately recognizable improvements. It looks spectacular. However, since this is essentially a remastered port of the Switch game, it still falls short of the original release's visual fidelity. In-game models are taken from the Switch version, which had lower poly counts. You can see that in certain places, like here on Sylvando's necklace. Volumetric lighting, shadows, and contrast are also lesser than the 2017 version. And these specular reflections and specular highlights have not been completely restored either. But many of the cutbacks that were necessary on Nintendo Switch have been redressed. PC sports native 4K resolution and uncapped frame rate. Consoles bring back 1440p upscaled to 4K with improved frame rates from 30 FPS to 60 FPS. Many of the in-game textures and materials have been improved, the draw distance has been readjusted so pop-in is less flagrant, and the lighting, while not as brilliant as the original release, has still been recognizably touched up. It's as similar a facsimile to the 2017 version as one can expect when transitioning from Switch. Now, since this is probably the last time I'll get to make a video about Dragon Quest XI specifically, let's have some fun and compare all the possible presentation styles. We'll start with the 2D mode on 3DS. I got this Japan exclusive version a couple years back because I love Dragon Quest so much. It looks pretty good, nothing spectacular, and the sprites do a lot of the heavy lifting since the 3DS resolution is so small. Let's check out 2D in Switch handheld. Really nice crisp image here thanks to the HD resolution. Now onto Switch docked. And finally, here's the PS4 port running on PS5. Now let's look at 3D mode, starting with 3DS. It looks great. I think the low poly mode with the cell shading is really charming, and I wish they would release this style in the West. I'd honestly pay $60 for just this low poly mode in HD. Moving along to 3D on Switch handheld. It probably looks decently noisy on your screen, but in action you're only looking at a 5.5 to 6.2 inch display depending on which model Switch you're using. Here's Nintendo Switch docked. Now here's 11S on PS5. And of course, we have to look at the original release. Yeah, the 2017 version is markedly prettier, no doubt, but I don't think the 2020 version looks bad at all. Here are some split screens to compare the various renditions in action: 3DS versus tablet, tablet versus docked, docked versus port, and port versus original. And here's a super split screen of all versions just for fun. Honestly, I don't think most players would notice the lesser graphical fidelity of the 2020 version compared to the 2017 version, at least not without direct comparisons. While the visuals for this new 11S are not perfect, I still think they're amazing nonetheless. And as a whole, if there are truly no more ports, remasters, remakes, or otherwise on the horizon, I can leave Dragon Quest XI on a high note with this: the most definitive edition of all. I think it's abundantly clear that I love Dragon Quest XI. I mean, I've made 3 videos about this one game now, and I've beaten it as many times as it's been released. But it's really that good, especially this latest release. This remastered port looks better than the Switch version, runs better than the original PS4 version, and has more content than the original PC release. And at its core, Dragon Quest XI is still a brilliant commemoration of the genre's formative years. No matter how much I love the experimental, trailblazing nature of modern Final Fantasy, of Persona, of Fire Emblem, I will always have a soft spot for good old-fashioned RPGs. And when it comes to classical RPGs, Dragon Quest remains the standard bearer. While Dragon Quest VII remains my favorite Dragon Quest game to this day, there's a difference between a series favorite and a series best. Dragon Quest XI-S is the series at its best. It's been a long time coming, but it shouldn't come as a shock. Dragon Quest XI-S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC earns a 10 out of 10. Subscribe and click the bell to stay up to date on my content, and check out the videos on screen, including the rest of my unofficial Dragon Quest XI trilogy of reviews. Thanks!